The Resurrection of Noah. Subtitle: We Listen to the Blood of Ancestors. This is the second tribute to Noah, Renako and Tanya. You are the 10th king in the line from Adam of red men, called prophet kings, philosopher-priests. Like Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, you are Muslim. We all submit to God and tell the truth. Prophesy, philosophize, expel the devils from our land, and listen to the blood of ancestors. The second slide here shows teepees, Thunderbird, and a bow and arrow held by an Indian. These are images of your roots, of your lineage. This slide is from Egypt, and this is your heritage. This is your lineage. It shows the Egyptians, people of color. Like Hagar, the mother of the Arabs, the sons of Joseph, Moses, Joshua, Aaron, and the Hebrews. Like Malcolm, Marcus, Martin, King David, King Solomon, and the pharaohs, your roots are African. Noah, you are the father of all peoples from a certain western view, through Ham, Shem, and Japheth. You were righteous then as you are now, and you will build the ark of our tomorrow. In your life cycle, where you were known as Noah, your father's name was Lamech, and you peopled the world through your 3 sons. The 17th day is the day of your resurrection this time, because on the 17th day, the 2nd month, the 600th year of that former life, the floods began. The floods began. It rained 40 days, 40 nights. The rains kept coming. On the 17th day, the 7th month, the ark rested on Mount Ararat to mark the end of rains. On the 40th day of your birth of this life cycle, the rains kept coming to remind us that it is you, and sirens wail with tornado warnings. We listen to the blood of ancestors. On significant days in your life, the rains descend, like on 6/23/94 and 8/1/94, and they keep on coming. When it rains and rains, we say it is a Noah day. So we associate major rain with you, Noah. And rain or water is a major part of life on earth. And you are a major part of us. Now I will tell you more about the nature of that life on earth as illustrated in the life of a seed of corn. That seed, a kernel of corn, is a key element in that plant's reproduction cycle and may require earth, water, rain, or other nutrition and the appropriate time and place to prosper. Likewise, in mankind, the seed brings forth after its kind to produce the body, and the body is a vehicle for the mind and soul. To date, the body is perishable, and like corn, lasts for only a human season. The mind might be called semi-permanent, and it is erasable, like an E-square problem. But memory, unlike this electronic erasable programmable memory chip, can disappear, then reappear. The soul is immortal, and it is everlasting. And it is everlasting. For it is a spark of God which has left the realm of spirit to learn lessons about flesh and matter. Souls come into the earth plane when an appropriate vehicle, body, and social, cultural, and other conditions exist to further its growth. And in some ways this is analogous to the kernel of corn. Your seed was conceived on June 14th, 1993, National Flag Day, although there has been speculation that you were conceived on 6/24/93, and you were much desired, so sought, and so you were born 9 months and 3 days later on St. Patrick's Day. Our cat brought a snake to me on about the date you were born, and another one appeared for disposal the next day as if by magic. So you are the image and likeness of St. Patrick. So you were called Noah Patrick. Noah, because this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands. And your name means comfort. You are the comforter. You are called Patrick because you are noble, aristocratic. You are a green, and the world celebrates the green and St. Patrick on the day of your advent. Your father wanted to call you Jeshua, Jesus, because one of his names is Joseph, Yusef, and your mother's name is Kathleen Mary. And this may be. This slide just shows a manger and the Star of David. Your father's name is James, a form of Jimmy, Jacob. He is the rightful successor, indeed a Jimmy. We do come as a thief. He is the image and likeness of that father of all peoples through the bloodlines, Jacob. Jacob is also called Israel, and he is the image and likeness of Israel, for he would be of service to mankind. He is Lee, for he is dweller by the meadow like King David. And he as Lee is Occident and Orient. He is Robin, son. Like David, he is a songbird for our Father God. He is Yusef, that is Joseph, for God did add to him you, son. You will be called Kalim, for you are a son of God among sons of God, and we like God have many names. Your grandfather is Samuel. His name is God. That's what it means. Albert, for he is noble, bright. That's what it means. Your grandfather is a genius of many sorts. He's green, for we bring nourishment and heal the earth. Your grandmother's name is Ruby Lee, for she is one rare gem who passed the heritage on to us to complete the karmic cycles. So Sam is the seed of John Green and Mary Costley. John is the seed of Annie Highland, your great-great-grandmother. Ruby is the seed of Annie Chenault and Charles Watson. This slide is a photograph of your father and you on about your 18th day of birth. Annie, your great-grandmother, is the seed of great-great-grandparents Katie Berry and James Chenault. Your father was named after James Chenault. Katie Berry is the seed of your great-great-great-grandparents Margaret Berry and Sandy Berry. Charles Watson is the seed of great-great-grandparents Bessie Mays Watson and Matthew Watson. James Chenault is the seed of your great-great-great-grandmother Lizzie Chenault. Matthew Watson is the seed of your great-great-great-grandmother Tina Mays Watson. And these are the generations that take us back to the end of the 1700s and the early 1800s. These are the biological seeds planted in the New World, and these are the generations of African Americans, mixtures of African, Native American, and Caucasian bloodlines. This is a piece of African art, this slide. These are the true Americans, for they are inclusive of all of America, of the best of the heritage by choice, of the best of the cultures by choice, of the dominant DNA by natural selection. Your primary African biological roots are from a place in Nigeria called, unquote, Middletown in the English language. However, we consider ourselves descendants of the Yoruba, inhabitants of Ife, Bornu, and of those cultures. But the African roots are of a mixture because of the intermingling of African bloodlines. The primary Native American roots are through Mary Costley, but this too is through the Watsons, Chennaults, and others, and is a mixture due to the intermingling of blood. The primary Caucasian bloodline is through James Chennault, but this too is also through the Watsons, and is of a mixture because of the intermingling of those bloodlines. Here we have a map of the USA, Alaska, and Hawaii, and a Yoruba head. That is African art. Next we have African art and a sketch. The Star of David and a Islamic crescent. Your blood type is O positive because you could give blood to all of mankind, but you could only receive your kind because your lineage is of the sons of God. For your ancient biological lineage, starting with Abraham, see Matthew 1:1. As I said, you are the father of all peoples of the world. Your children through the generations include Moses, Samson, Joshua, Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, Jeremiah, Elijah, King David, King Solomon, scientists, engineers, those who call themselves Jews, Europeans, Caucasians, Africans, Asians, Native Americans, and others. Those who are devils are children of the devil. For your ancient spiritual lineage, see Luke 3:23. The biological and spiritual lines diverged during the time of King Solomon. They come together again with your descendant Joseph, the ostensible father of Jesus. In Kwanzaa, an African American holiday, we celebrate offspring and ancestors and the end of harvest using an ear of corn. Next, Noah, I'll tell you about spiritual evolution and about the process of God's souls incarnating into a flesh body on the earth plane. First, though, I'll define two terms. First, the devil is defined as the condition of lying, cheating, stealing, killing, destroying, hatred, envy, selfishness, greed, blasphemy, jealousy, injustice, oppression, negativity, morbidity, evil intentions, and various similar conditions. These conditions are satanic, and people who have them we call devils. Our second definition is just about the opposite to the first. We call it love, and it means caring and sharing of time, resources, knowledge. Love produces many good qualities like patience, loyalty, security, peace, etc. It is not possible to truly love and then turn around and hate and destroy like many of the people do. So beware hypocrites, phonies, and liars. Beware those who love and even worship material things. Most of them are devils, and what mind they have becomes diminished. They lack what we call common sense, and they become disabled physically and or mentally. With those conditions in mind, let's move on. Recall that you were conceived on June 14, 1993. On 6/9/93, your father Jacob made this notation. I had a remarkable dream last night. I was talking with Moses. His voice was soft-spoken and not loud enough, so I then communicated not so much what he said, but a kind of communication with him, and then to an audience or individual. He was stout, dark complexioned, hair close cut, African American. I awoke. Then I wrote, two important personages seen in vision or dreams in recent months, Solomon, Moses. Both were African or African American looking. How come? On January 27th, 1993, Jacob made the following notation. On December 12th, 1992, on the night of December 12th, the morning of 12/13/92, I had a very poignant vision where I saw King Solomon. He was very dark complexioned, very African, and looked like a typical quote-unquote Somalian would look. He had on a flashy or colorful jacket or garment. He is very handsome. On February 6, 1993, Jacob made the following notation. A dream about King David. He is in step with Judah, that is time. That is, time and Judaism and David are almost like one and the same thing. But in that sense, Christianity and Islam are Judaism. It's one tradition, the same thing. God's real chosen are those who choose to join that tradition, and they will complete the cycle of Judaism or time, history as we know it. First, we effect a spiritual revolution, change to unity in the individual, then the groups, then hopefully the masses. The spiritual revolution brings about the second coming, the millennium, etc. This is similar to what happened before. We start by implementing Jubilee, but more on that later. Those who oppose us or who do not help us in establishing these Christian ideals show that they are antichrists, and they prove that they are devils. On March 5th, 1993, Jacob made the following notation. There was a dream where a dark-complexioned and thin man told me that I had been afraid of Moses. I told him Moses is my friend, and that he was a liar, and that I thought that I should tell him that I rebuke thee, Satan. At the time that he said I had known Moses, my name was Leslie, Leslie. Also, the man was a drunk, and I reminded him of that fact. Note, Leslie means holly, or of the holly tree, and is derived from the word holy, relating to Christmas. In the spring of 1993, I had a dream about being at work in a really nice suburban-like facility. It seemed almost like a lobby, with noticeable pillars. It started to rain really, really hard. It poured down rain, Noah. And at the same time, God began to take evil peoples, the devils, and to take them to hell. Noah, the devils are the ones who would not help implement the millennium, and only the good and righteous people were left behind. Noah, it did not seem to be many people left behind. Then the eye of providence appeared. Then I think it just faded, as did the vision. And Noah, providence is God. Providence is God. This next slide just shows the eye of providence on the dollar and the Great Seal, and it shows a Native American hunting buffalo. Another notation. On the morning of May 17th, 1993, I had a dream which bordered on the level of a vision. I saw two angels on the right side of a projected picture of God's face only, reflected or projected into the sky. The reflection faded in and out at least twice. This followed my looking into the sun. The face was essentially brown, I believe, maybe a smidgen lighter than my own. I did not get a good impression of the hair. No impression of it being white or gray, but rather dark. He did not seem particularly of any particular nationality, but rather what would be a blend of all the Earth's the earth's races. Note, there was another face appearing to the left and bottom of God's projection. So these and some other experiences heralded and foreshadowed your conception on June 14, 1993, and your arrival on March 17, 1994. If I could, I would bear your burdens, I would bear your sins, I would deflect all pain from you. As it is, that cannot be, but truth will see you through. In flesh or spirit I'll be with you, to talk of things both old and new. Matthew 11:13 says, For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John, and if ye will receive it, this is Elias which was for to come. Matthew 17:11 says, And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come, and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake to them of John the Baptist. Matthew 16:13 says, When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Why would they say that if there was no reincarnation? In the Quran, Noah, the Prophet Muhammad, dictated dozens of times the words that state that life is the alternation of life, death, life, and then the judgment. Two alternations make a cycle, and a cycle is repetitive. So human life consists of a series of cycles, or what we call incarnations. As you see by the quotes from Matthew, reincarnation, or resurrection as it was called then, was accepted as a fact. With the concept of reincarnation, we can see that we truly reap what we sow, that the universe or God is just, that recycling is not new, etc., etc. The doubters and scoffers rely on hearsay, and they have no direct knowledge. They're not in unity with God, because if they were, they would not be so ignorant about spiritual matters. They are not in unity within themselves, nor with their society, unless their society is defective. The next slide I see as a photograph from Senegal. Very beautiful picture. Many of the people are so evil that they create an inherent and highly undesirable state of separation from God and truth. So they are left to wander on indefinitely in their ignorance. They wander on indefinitely in their ignorance. Then they will tell you that God is just and good without having a rational basis for their statements. Many of them see all the disparities and evils in life, yet without rationally and adequately explaining cause and effect. People born with physical and mental deformities, people born in poverty or wealth, etc., they have no sensible explanations for life conditions. And people who are not rational, logical, scientific, and then claim to be believers are pseudo-Christian and pseudo-Muslim. Some have memorized certain things handed down to them by word of mouth or books. Some know a lot about investigations into matter and about the manipulation and processing of matter. But concerning most other aspects of life, they are very ignorant. Many of them are oppressors or would-be oppressors, and they have many of the evil qualities of devils like selfishness, lying, envy, even hatred. Jesus described them as those who may have knowledge. They may see and hear, yet they do not understand. They have no understanding in their heart, we have been told. Muhammad the Prophet described them as the blind, deaf, and dumb. They will inexplicably add lies to truth. They will exaggerate with an inclination to make a lie. They exaggerate with an inclination to make a lie. Incidentally, we regard the following as being some of the incarnations of Jesus: Adam, Enoch, Melchizedek, Joseph, Jacob's 11th son, Joshua, and Jeshua. He completed his cycles on earth as Jesus, where he helped to forge links, unity between God and man. And unity is very important. Noah, only in unity can there be unity with God. Only in unity can there be unity with God and the ability to listen to the blood of our ancestors and transcend time. Because in unity, we transcend purely chronological time, because past, present, and future become now, and life is perceived in cycles like spring, summer, fall, winter, year after year, day, night, life, death, etc. And we in unity look into the past or future in dreams or visions, oftentimes without realizing immediately whether something is a past or future event. And this ability comes from being in unity with God, but restricted by certain limitations of the flesh body. Remember, we are sparks of God, made in his image, immortal in the soul. With that in mind, I say to you that you and those waves of resurrected beings of our era are heirs to America and to the world. Because during a time when there was a glacial period to this North American continent, I was there. I was what was called a shaman or priest. I even tried to retard the growth of the glacier by magical means. Remember, we are of the line of prophet kings, philosopher-priests. We are the sons of God. Next, I have a picture of Nefertiti and Isis. Some of the following was gleaned from regression sessions. This is not necessarily something that I have experienced myself. I was told some of these things. And some of them I know to be, or seem to be valid. I have envisioned a tornado traverse the location where Black Hawk Drive is. I lived about half a mile east of there. This I experienced. I was one of those explorers of the New World in the era beginning in 1492. This is from a regression, but I've seen things that kind of reflect that. I was an itinerant preacher in the Mississippi Delta in the 1700s. Don't know about that. I was an African-American inventor in Georgia in the late 1800s. Don't know about that. I was a shaman or priest in Ethiopia in the late 1500s. I've seen visions about an area that seemed to be like Ethiopia. I was a follower of John the Baptist, and then through John the Beloved was a follower of the Messiah and a founder of the early Christian church. Seems likely, probable. I was one of those individuals from the Jesus era who helped develop Islam. That's true. Jesus too was there to help, though not in the flesh. So Islam, taken with the teachings of Jesus, gives a balanced presentation of the one tradition of Adam, Abraham, Moses, and Muhammad. Also, I was a Japanese soldier during the time of the persecution against the Christians, or about 1637. In addition to the above, I have deep connections to Africa, Asia, Europe, China, Russia, and the Caucasus. So Noah, you are the rightful heir to America and to the world, because I have been there creating bloodlines or traveling the bloodlines of the prophet kings, philosopher-priests. And now we must reap the earth and give it back to our Father God. They name me aptly Jacob, the father of the 10 lost tribes. Blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh, that went forth, even in expulsion, to be fruitful and to multiply my seed in the earth. It's fitting for us to be here at this harvest time. So listen, Noah, and know that the significance of the above related dreams, visions, and experiences is this. We will implement the law of God as handed down through Adam, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. God will send those who do not help us implement the millennium to hell. We will build the second Solomon temple, even if it has to rest within my chest. So all God's chosen will come to town, get down, and worship the one God in spirit, tell the truth, prophesy, philosophize, expel the devils from our land, and listen to the blood of ancestors. Finally, Noah, I will tell you about the land of your nativity and of how this ties in with the 10 lost tribes. I will remind us why we are here. We are African descendants of the red, brown, black original peoples, starting with Adam. Adam means red, man of red earth. And we are among the ancestral lands of our ancestors, the Fox, the Sauk, and the Illini. And we are warriors like King David and like Black Hawk. We are soldiers for God like Moses and Muhammad. And we listen to the blood of our ancestors. And we listen to David. And we listen to John the Beloved. And we try to listen to God. But this is not what my 10 sons' tribes did. They turned to evil, and they became devils, and they became Satan. And there was not too many good ones among them. So Israel got scattered to the 4 corners of the world, and my seed got scattered, and my bloodline mixed with all the peoples of the world. But Solomon and others helped to spread my seed. I almost have too many children now. Anyway, Daniel and John saw 8 empires. Egypt in Africa, of course, 3100 to 676 BC. Assyria, 676 to 612 BC. Babylonia, 612 to 539 BC. Persia, 539 to 331 BC. Greece, 331 to 168 BC. Rome, 168 BC to 476 AD. The USA became the 7th world power in the 1900s, around the time of World War II and following World War II. And the 8th Empire started in about 1991. Daniel and John said that the 7th and 8th Empire arrangements would be wicked and evil, just like ancient Israel. And this is true, but it can change. First, it can stop calling itself devil. Various athletic teams could stop calling themselves blue devils or blue demons. It could stop calling some cake devil's food cake. They call it that, then they eat it. They could stop calling children kids. Kids are goats. Goats are beasts. God complained about this empire being too beastly. He said 666, or multiple deficiency, or evil, was a symbol or mark of the beast. Since African Americans are African, Native American, and Caucasian mixtures, they are not black. They are predominantly African. And that ancestral land is called Africa, not black land. And in appearance, they are mostly brown, but include a beautiful rainbow of colors. The term black or white is not descriptive. Those terms are divisive. Black studies is a stupid terminology unworthy of academia. And remember, Jesus and then Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. We are all Americans from different land areas like Europe, Asia, Africa. The black-white thing should go first because it is a lie. Then it is divisive. It plays into the hands of the devils. The economic system is irrational and evil. That is why there's about $16 trillion debt. Actually, today it's more like $22 trillion, which will never be paid. The economic system is an underpinning for the whole society. It has collapsed. That's why the S&Ls collapsed and were bailed out in 1988. And that's why there is a tremendous social and moral collapse involving thousands of children in foster care. That's why there are about 2 million souls in jails in the USA. That's why businesses are collapsing, and yet they call it downsizing. That's why there is a multi-billion-dollar plus trade deficit. That's why there has been a crime epidemic. That's why there is so much drug use, legal and illegal. That's why our children go to college and get programmed with ignorance and saddled with debt. That's why out of a population of actually 330 million now, only a certain portion work. It used to be about 130 million back in the day when this was first written. That's why there is unemployment and underemployment. That's why taxes are high. That's why there's more and more efficiency from workers, but less and less security for workers. That's why there is no safety in the streets and no tranquility across my land. So Noah, we must implement the concept of the Jubilee year as handed down through our son Moses. We must cancel all national, state, local, individual, farm, and business debt for all countries. For these people are our children too, and we must ensure that food, clothing, shelter, education, health care, privacy, and security is provided for everyone, and everyone will contribute, just like the early Christian church. We must free people by creating true free enterprise and privatization. I believe in privacy. We will get government out of their pockets and off their backs. Everyone, individual, businesses, and government will live by mutuality, which is the golden rule. On January 27, 1995, I chopped off the head of a snake. I then beat the body without mercy, but it would not stop showing signs of life, quote unquote. When I smashed it, it reacted to protect itself or fight back. It refused to die. The eighth world power, is now in such a reflex mode. God has chopped off the head. The reactions are primitive, tribalistic, knee-jerk, irrational. The USA Congress wants to build lots and lots of more prisons to warehouse people, and this is a way of creating jobs in the so-called public safety sector. Never mind creating a rational society and a functional society, and never mind creating real jobs. That congressional policy will create jobs for the so-called public defenders, assistant state's attorneys, various social workers, and those who watch over the prisoners. And guess who will pay for this? The people need real jobs, education, and security. They will never get it under this system because the system is fundamentally senseless and oppressive. The Federal Reserve System operates against the laws of mutuality and balance in nature. The credit system is invasive, discriminatory, unjust, and unfair. The ruling class, the Congress, the President, and business has had the gall to tell and even to ensure that people live on minimum wage or not too high above it. For those who propose a minimum wage for others, let them live on minimum wage. And Newt Gingrich, who was one of the leaders in Congress at the time, has led the fight against making sure that people get a living wage. Newt and his fellow travelers are dead snakes, and dead snakes stink unless you bury them as soon as they have stopped pretending to be alive. The ruling class is dead, and they show it. Just look. Anything positive you see happening now is mostly a sign of the coming glorious age. For the scorpion, frog, salamander, or snake-like thing will be that no more, but rather a mighty soaring eagle, and that is what this country is destined to become. We will educate, rehabilitate, or eliminate criminals just like Moses, Muhammad, or Jesus would do. The current rulers could never administer such a program because it first requires truthfulness, then compassion, fairness, justice, mercy, and humility. Remember, Malcolm X was such an rehabilitated individual. So let us cleanse the air and bury dead snakes and move on. We must institute a system of barter so that what happened to our ancient Israel does not happen in some form here and now. For you can be sure that many of the same devils who brought destruction to many civilizations are at it again here today. So, my fellow warrior, know that we drive the path of Black Hawk. We implement the Millennium with Jesus, Moses, and Muhammad at our side. God's will becomes our own, and we will love and help our second Israel. Forever prophet, kings, philosopher-priests. Be a king, my son. Tell the truth. Prophesy, philosophize. Expel the devils from our land and listen to the blood of ancestors. My love for you is boundless, and I am always at your side, my son, in flesh or spirit. All cycles are complete in us, son. From old world African red men to African American red men, here and now. For we drive together down Black Hawk Drive and listen to the blood of ancestors. We listen to the blood of ancestors, and we listen to the blood of ancestors until the cycles of seeds are done and ancestors come alive again as we have done, to do God's will again and again and again and again in the service of God and man. So once again, you and I can listen to the blood of ancestors. Thank you.